There's a lot of conversation on the internet around being the only black person, the only white person, all of those things. Today, I want to talk about being the only woman in a room, in a boardroom, client meeting, client dinner, and what that really feels like. Welcome back to another episode of Seriously, the Claudia Project, where we walk and we talk. Finally, the weather has allowed us to hit the streets of Atlanta and get back to doing what we do best, and that's getting these steps in before the day starts. Back to the topic. So, being the only woman in a room, I didn't even realize, I don't think, until very recently that, like, how weird this can feel. My entire career, I have worked in predominantly either super mixed environments, in film, half women, half men, doing an array of jobs. I was always I was never the only person in any of those positions. There was always two guys in the office, two women in the office. Always felt very, very mixed, if you will. Then I moved to HR, which was basically all women. There might be like one or two men on each project, but for the majority of those jobs, it was just all women. So, when you're in an environment like that, it's all very kosher. Everyone's having babies, everyone's moms, everyone's dating people, and so the conversation is very easy. The lunchroom chats are typical. The way you get feedback is the way you want to receive feedback. It's all, you don't even really have to think about it because you feel so comfortable in those settings. Well, let me tell you, moving into finance, I have joined a women's finance group because really it's just men, and you're in, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I love my coworkers. They're great. But it does create an entirely different environment on how they move around, how they make decisions. I make jokes sometimes in my office I'm the only woman in this office, physically. We have a few women coworkers, but they live remotely, so just a different situation for them. But I'm the wife at my house. So if that's going to get done, I'm the person who has to do it. Anyway, so it's the first time I've really had to think about this, and so here are just, there are challenges that come with that, right? And there was feedback. Sorry guys, this is my first day back on the streets and I'm out of breath. The way that they give feedback to each other is different. They're okay with doing a roundup and just being we don't really think this is a good idea. Maybe you should change X, Y, and Z. It's 5 people. They're dogpiling you, and you're is anyone else acknowledging what's happening right now? But it's just a different way that they approach, the work, just because finance is just a different beast in itself, but also just how they interact with one another is very interesting. And so I've had to, I think, get used to taking feedback that way, and this is just one example, right? But just taking feedback that way, but also creating boundaries around things that hey, you guys might be into doing this together like this. Claudia's not into that. And so having separate conversations with each of them, creating boundaries and making sure that I feel good about it. So this gives me to my point. You have to figure out when you're the only woman, and this goes across all types of things, but right now we're talking about being the only woman in this space, right? You have to figure out how to navigate that. Claim your seat. Speak up early in meetings. Don't let yourself move into a corner. I found myself doing that at first. You don't want to cause a scene. You don't want to be all of these things, but you need to speak up for yourself, and you need to let your voice be known. That way they start to understand who you are, why you're here. All of those things are super important. Build allies. So find champions in the room that support you. I am in a fantastic office with people who truly believe in me, help me. They teach me things. We're all willing to mend and grow together, which is really nice because we're really small. But if you're in a bigger space, it's super important to find people in your corner who understand what you're going through and can be there for you to help you continue to get better, right? Set boundaries early. So for me, typically, if it's not depending on the day, I have to pick Ashton up. I just have daycare pickups and stuff. And so setting boundaries on when I can work. I'm happy to get up super early, answer emails at 5, but I have practice in the morning, and I'm not going to quit the dance team for any of this. Well, There are days I have to miss, but you know what I mean. And so setting boundaries around what I'm willing to do, what I'm not willing to do, pushing back when you disagree, making sure that you're not like making yourself small, which I think a lot of women just naturally we can do. So making sure you're not doing that, but making sure your boundaries are realistic and that you're not, you hate to use the word like being emotional, but that you're not being overly emotional about what's happening. I think sometimes you need to take 24 hours to decide how you truly feel about the way that something happened, especially in a male-dominated environment. But also, while you're taking that space, making sure you're not, making yourself do backflips for someone else, overthinking every single word that you said, those kind of things, right? So setting boundaries is super important. Number 4, bring your authentic self. Like, you cannot show up to a workplace, especially with men, and pretend to be someone that you're not for a long period of time. Like, if this is a job that you like and this is a job you want to keep, then I would suggest from the beginning being yourself, letting them see that you have feelings, letting them see that you care about things, letting them see all the sides of you. And it doesn't have to be the extreme sides, right? But for me, I don't like group feedback from nobody. I don't like group feedback from my friends. I don't like group feedback at practice. It's just, personally, it's not something that I enjoy. And so I have been very clear that that's the boundary that I set. I don't mind change. In the role that I have at work, which if you're new here, I'm a chief of staff. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Things change for me every single day. Today, I'm planning a luncheon. I found out yesterday at 5 p.m. before we went to a work dinner with our legal colleagues from New York City, which was delicious, by the way. I don't know, I'll put it in the description below, but it's a Michelin star restaurant here in Atlanta. Delicious. Truly, truly great. But yeah, I have a lunch to plan. I have no idea. She wants sushi. We're going to sushi tonight for another client dinner. It's a whole mess. Anyway, I gotta figure that out today. All that to say, change is fine, but not when you guys are doing it as a group. Y'all had these side conversations, came together, and now y'all are gonna talk to me about it. No, ma'am, we're not doing that. So back to the point, be your authentic self. And I think on the internet, it has turned into you have to be some extreme version of yourself, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying be true to who you are. Yes, you do have to adjust at work. It just is what it is. I don't drop F-bombs in the middle of the office. I guess I could probably get away with it depending on the scenario, just because of the industry that I work in, but that's just not my vibe at work. That's not my authentic self in an office. So, but if that's what you're into, I find a place for that, but I don't, whatever. Focus, Claudia. Prep with intention, anticipate tough questions. They come around all the time, and be ready. So, I do think there's something to be said about, and I need to be better about this, and this is something I'm working on, is being overly prepared at work, especially when you're the only woman. It's not to say that you should have to prove yourself a bunch of times, but you are alone, and so you do, again, these are just my thoughts. I do think there's something about doing your best, while also not killing yourself, right? If everyone in the office is working really hard, then you need to be prepared to work really hard. That way, you're not standing out in a way that is negative, right? But it also doesn't mean that you need to, be sitting on the moon all the time. You do get to do your job and leave sometimes, the rest of your colleagues. So, just make sure you're intentional about it, that you're prepared, and that you're doing a really good job, because you are setting the tone for, one, hopefully your team hiring more women so you're not there by yourself, but also just how they feel about the way that women work. And that's a lot of pressure. I will say I feel it all the time in my office, but it doesn't mean that you need to, change the world every single day. So don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. So those are like 5 super easy steps to navigate it. I don't want to say this is easy because, you know, I mean, I did say that, but I do think those are 5 steps to think about. And I do think that being the only woman there are so many pros to it as well. Like, I get to wear whatever I want to the office. I mean, you know, be respectful, right? I do work in finance, but for the most part, because I'm the only woman in the office, especially once our intern goes back to college this summer, I kind of get to like vibe it out. Like sometimes I get to go, I mean, I'm always like dressed, right? But I can like jeans and then like cute top and a cute little pair of heels. I can wear trousers or shorts. Yesterday I wore a vest that didn't have sleeves, super cute, very professional, but you know, like those vibes, they just get to wear khakis and shirts. Ugh, you know? So those are positives too. So just remember, being the only woman in an office can be hard, but you can do it. So just set those boundaries, make sure that you're claiming your seat, build those allies, be yourself, and then just make sure you're ready and prepared all the time. So you can show those boys who's boss. Because really, if you're the only woman in an office, we already know who's running the game. Am I right or am I right? Anyway, happy Wednesday. Have the best day ever. If you're here still, go ahead and comment down below, subscribe. I'm gonna get to the comments today. Been a busy couple of days over here. We're just like moving and shaking, getting ready for the season, which is crazy. Outside of that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. We will talk tomorrow. And as always, this is seriously the Claudia Project. Bye, guys.